retirement for me may not be typical for most people. And that is because I was in the private sector. I came into politics not by chance, it was a deliberate decision, but I came into politics after I had matured in the private sector. Many of you may not know, but by the time I declared that I want to be governor of the state, I was already 60, which is not common these days. You see very young people wanting to be hold offices and so on. And so when I retired, because of that background, I went straight back into my profession. I still practice as an architect and a town planner, thank God. But I do get a lot of insults sometimes from that, because I go into an office trying to bid for a job. Okay, but you were governor. Why are you still doing this thing? So what do you call this thing? My profession? You call my profession this thing? That's what I was trained to do. Politics was just to go and serve, and I've come back. And only yesterday, an interesting thing, because you may notice there's a bit of hoarseness in my voice. I developed a cold, and my SSS man was saying, you know, something that can help you, don't take sugar, take honey and lime. And I said, do you know when I stopped taking sugar? In 1970. And he was amazed. He said, you see, when people tell you don't take sugar, so you want to just moderate your life, do the things that you are advised to do that will help you health-wise, and by God's grace, you can be even stronger than I am when you are well over 80.
Your Excellency, you mentioned that before you went into politics, you were in the private sector. Would you say that being in the private sector is an advantage for somebody who is hoping to go into elective public office?
I sincerely believe so, because when people are just brought up in the bureaucracy and all they understand is bureaucracy, they think differently. Maybe I'm jumping the gun here, but I can tell you, there was an article in my second year in office in Washington Post, and that article clearly highlights the fact that if you come from the private sector, you can think differently. In that article, I had said, they had asked me, why do you want to do a science park? Do you know that you will be the second science park in Africa after Dimension Data in South Africa? I said, yes, why not? Because I can see the benefits of the science park in Akwa Ibom. Look at what's happening in Silicon Valley. Look at what happened in India with the IT and so on. And therefore, I say, any governor can come and build a stadium. That's where they catch it. Any governor can come and build a stadium, but I won't build a stadium, because the stadium, but a science park will make a difference. So when you come from the private sector, it gives you the opportunity to, in fact, think slightly differently. And it can help in the way you model things.
Okay, let's go into politics, because even though you were in the private sector, but I think you made your name more in politics.
You know me more in politics than the others who know me very well in the private sector as a past president of the Nigerian Institute of Architects. But please go on.
Okay, sir. So let's go into politics. We recently had the political party primaries. What's your take on the whole exercise, and how do you look at the contentious provision of the Electoral Act, which excluded people who said to be statutory delegates from voting?
I am glad you raised that question, and I'm going to answer it as a broad-based question. I had been asked earlier, what did I think of this Electoral Act? And I said, apart from being specific about the punishment that should be meted out to people who commit electoral crime, what are the two essential areas of the Act? One, the use of electronic media. I said, why do we need an act? You have set up INEC. You've told INEC, do everything you find necessary to make sure that elections are properly conducted. INEC has decided that the use of electronic transmission system, the card that they use and so on, will help to do. Why do they need another law to say that it should be so? That's what messed up the last election. Because the Supreme Court, even throughout cases, they saw the use of the card reader is not in the act. Therefore, they should not. How could they have used the act when the act in setting them up empowers them to do whatever they find necessary to make sure the elections are properly conducted? So for me, it was a meaningless, unnecessary act. The second was the question of delegates. And I asked, are parties now parastatals of government? Why should the government be the one to tell a party how its candidates should emerge? You have the party constitution. So for me, it's a meaningless act because we just like to duplicate things so that we can cause confusion. And believe me, I'll go from there and say all of these delegates things. Why should one representative from a local government come and tell me who I should vote for as the president? And yet, the president is supposed to be familiar with the whole country, and we are supposed to know him. But only one person from one local government will come and tell me, you can only vote for this one, you can't vote for that other one. So this system that we are using is totally unsuitable for Nigeria, incapable of letting the youth come into politics, and it does not make for true representation. I can elaborate on all of these 3 points. It is not good for Nigeria because we do not have real representation. If we had a parliamentary system, for those of you who have only known military, there was a system that was parliamentary. Take the federal constituency as a unit. Everybody would have been elected from their federal constituency. I'm talking national level now. Would have been elected into the National Assembly. Within that National Assembly, you will now among themselves pick ministers, pick who should be the first among equal, that is the prime minister, and then you will have a very robust house. What I mean by a very robust house, look at the situation in which you were told that, what's the name? So the person that stepped down for B in the, from Delta State. Anyway, he stepped down, for people stepped down for B, some people stepped down for that, some people stepped down for the other. Why? Oh, none of those two people come from the same constituency. So if we didn't have this presidential elimination system, all of them would have been in the parliament. And if they had been in the parliament, that would have been a very robust part. Let me bring it down to the state where you will fully understand. The minute we raised Umoino's hand, everybody knew that this is the preferred candidate. Some immediately left, went to other parties, and only one of them can get that position of a governor. When that one gets it, the others fall away. It is wrong. I would have loved to have seen a parliament in which you have all those people, all of them capable. They are capable, that's why they were aspiring to be governors. All of them in the House of Assembly here, developing Akwa Ibom, because they would be contributing ideas towards the development of Akwa Ibom. Any one of them. Look at all the people that have since left and gone and will not perhaps be governor. And when they are not governor, you lose the benefit of what they could have contributed to the development of the state. This presidential system is totally, completely wrong and does not help for the development of the country. I am advocating very strongly, and the youth can never find the money to fight all those established people because it has become a money game. While as in a parliamentary system, you come to my community and say, we want your representative. Believe me, it does not take INEC or any rigging system or whatever to tell me or my community who should represent us. We will get together and say, this is the person that is representing us, and let anybody come with another, so you will say, no, this is the person we have decided is going to represent us. So you will get true representation, and that will include women, that will include youth, and that will include the kind of people that you will never have had a chance if we're doing this delegate matter. And when you get that kind of representation, he has an obligation to his community. he would be able to go into parliament, and when the premier at the state level, no prime minister at the federal level, premier at the local level, state level will say, I want to do that. No, my community does not like that. Although he'll be able to speak for his community. But you don't have that kind of situation in the presidential system. I read the other day about how many bills have been sent to the president and how few he has signed. And, so the parliament is literally, let me use the word, literally useless. They are not contributing. What the president wants goes. What the governor wants goes. Full stop. It is not right. It should be what the people want that should go. And people should mean everybody, the possibility of everybody. Youth, women, others, being full participants and as full representatives of their communities.
Okay, Your Excellency, from what you have just said, you are for parliamentary system of government.
Yes.
But, well, at the moment we are operating the presidential system of government. And taking you on true representation, in the Electoral Act Amendment 2022, there are provisions for direct primaries, indirect primaries, and consensus. Which of them do you think? Because based on what you say, I would like to even, I would infer that you would prefer the direct mode of primaries. But to hear from the horse's mouth, which of the provisions would you adopt, or you think Nigeria should adopt?
I will not adopt any, because I don't accept the system. I will adopt the parliamentary system that allows the people to bring people out of their communities. I will not adopt any of those. I would completely reject the presidential, and therefore I completely reject any other system that will bring out that type of candidate.
Okay. Your Excellency, along the line you mentioned Pastor Umoino. A lot of arguments about the emergence of Pastor Umoino, and I would like you to clarify here. Was the choice of Pastor Umoino that of the governor or that of stakeholders of the state?
Pastor Umoino was identified by the stakeholders, and luckily the governor also agreed that he would be very happy to have him as a successor. That's the truth. So it is the stakeholders that identified Umoino along a few other names, and the governor identified with him as the one he would like, and we were very happy. I can tell you, with quite a few of the others, there was the issue of, oh, this person wins, you are handing the government to so, because they had a group. If this person wins, you are handing the government to so, because they had a group. Umoino didn't have a group. Umoino has Akwa Ibom as his group. Akwa Ibom is his community. Tell me, who are the people that say, these are Umoino's people? These are none. Nobody. It's all of Akwa Ibom. Besides, he has the humility to listen. I've known him for quite some time. He has the humility to listen. He's prepared to ask questions. Why was this like that? Oh, could it be a different way? He has also the ability to implement. What more do you want?
Okay, Your Excellency, from reports, you were the one who presented Umoino during that meeting.
Mm-hmm.
I would like you to let us know more in details what you saw in him to believe that he's a person to take Akwa Ibom to the next level.
First of all, I will ask you a question. Why was I the one to say that this is the preferred candidate? Can any of you give me that question? I'll answer that question. You can? Somebody must know. I will remind you, because we like to forget. But if you read the book of Deuteronomy, it's full of do not forget, do not forget, do not forget, but we like to forget. You took me to Asani Ibibio and declared me the political leader of Ibibio people and by extension of Akwa Ibom. You forget. Because everybody that came, I said, you didn't celebrate that. I don't remember anybody remembering to celebrate our anniversary. But that's beside the point. The point I am making is that everybody that came to me wanting to say or saying they want to be a governor, I said, I am not allowed to have a preference, because when the day comes, I'll be the one to announce the preferred candidate. But I bless you, go and work. If you accept it, I will lift your hand and say you are the preferred candidate. So that's the role I played of the political leader of this state. And I've already told you the things as I say, it was not just me, it was a lot of stakeholders identifying not only him, but a few other people along with him, and the governor happened to identify fully with him what we saw, and I've already told you, his sense of commitment, ability, loyalty, and the humility to know that he has to ask questions. And if you look at Lagos State government, Lagos State government has benefited largely from the fact that there is continuity. But what this state, for instance, suffered from was that, in the words of Winston Churchill, if you pick a fight between the present and the past, you would have lost the future. In this state, we picked the quarrel with the past. My science park was abandoned, my seaport was abandoned, my University of Technology was abandoned, my power plant was abandoned, several other things were abandoned. We started new things, like Tropicana, like this, that, and the other. You know what? That's really what we did. You pick the quarrel with the past, and I think in the process, everybody seems to agree that we have lost the future. Umoino will not be like that. Umoino understands that these are all building blocks that rise, so he will listen, he will go along with what was in the past, and build up to the point where we can have Akwa Ibom of our future.
Your Excellency, once again, it's an honor to talk to you today. Let's dig deeper into that day of the presentation of Pastor Moino. We've heard various accounts, but we're privileged to have you here as the man who presented him. What was the mood of the other stakeholders? Were there dissenting voices? Just play out that day for us again.
Quite honestly, there was a standing ovation that was difficult to bring to a stop. It just went on and on and on and on and on. But there was a strong dissenting voice. There was one of the aspirants who raised his hand 3 times but could not speak, and he really, at the end, he burst out complaining that this is not fair, they should have been told, there should have been a private meeting with all the aspirants before this happened, but he stayed to the end. There were 2 other aspirants who just quietly accepted the situation as it was, and they left it at that. And after that, the speech I made was that I know by what I am doing, quite a number of people will feel disenchanted and so on. So I reached out to all of them. I could not get to 2 of them, only 2 aspirants I could not reach. But I talked to all the others, told them, well, I always told you, it didn't fall on you, so please accept the situation, and that's what I did. The mood was that of full and total acceptance.
Were you satisfied with the response you got when you talked to them?
Quite a few. You see, I thank God that I still have a good measure of respect for elders and for even common sense, if you like. One of them just completely avoided me. That's one of those I couldn't reach, just completely. And later on, I heard he gave me reasons for avoiding me, because he said he knew I was going to suggest an alternative for him, and he was not prepared to accept the alternative, so he just didn't want to talk to me. But the others, well, it's okay. We'll go back to what we were doing, and that's it. And there was some that I'm still angry. We should have, respect is reciprocal. They didn't really respect us at all. They just came and announced to us that this is the best among. I said, nobody said it's the best. It's just the preferred candidate. I talked to them, and they calmed down, And I believe those that didn't want to still went out and took tickets in other parties, and others just decided they will leave it well enough alone.
Okay. Well, that's, generated an interesting, you know, in moments before the primaries actually happened. Let's fast forward to that day. Was that what you expected, the overwhelming victory? We know that two of those candidates were not around, but did you expect what eventually happened?
By the time somebody is declared as the preferred candidate, and you know the background, that it was not one man trying to force or impose him on anybody, but that stakeholders had met and considered, it was only wise that people went along with the elders and those stakeholders. And so the results did not surprise me. And like you say, those who perhaps might have been able to give a keen competition are already left. They didn't participate. They had gone to other parties.
Well, one of them actually instituted a court case. Incidentally, one of those who partook of a primary over certificate forgery. How did that come to you?
First I laughed. Then I said, maybe I shouldn't laugh. Let me try and verify the fact. See, I've heard this certificate thing. Didn't you hear it when Buhari was declared? Every time somebody feels threatened, everybody feels they cannot cope with this competition, they have to find a way to eliminate that competition. Sometimes it's not even for the purpose of eliminating the competition, just for the purpose of planting doubts in people's minds. Did we do the wrong thing? Could this man have forged his certificate? What kind of person is this that forged his certificate? Just to plant doubts in people's minds. But I am satisfied because I've looked. Again, of course, I called and asked questions. I did, immediately. And I was satisfied with the answers I got. And I'm marching before the court, so the court will tell us whether I was right or wrong.
That's good. We're still talking the morning now, and he is a deviation from a career politician. Do you actually think it's going to be like, would that be a disadvantage for him going into?
Was it a disadvantage for me to come from the private sector, fresh into politics, never been in the only time I did a political thing was in 1994-95 when I went to the Constitutional Conference, because this parliamentary system had always been with me. And I went, and of course the fact that we were getting derivation was nothing. If I wrote the history of how derivation, this president will come remove percentage, that one can remove percentage, and there was one time we were down to 1% derivation until President Babangida came and said, no, it's so, okay, he didn't have the, let me not use the word correct, but he didn't want to change that 1%, but he now went and created UMPADEC to bring another 3% to add to the 1% to make it 4. I was hurt by that. I decided you cannot have this mineral here and all the people are getting is 4% in a split of 1 and 3. So I went to fight for an increase in that derivation, and thank God we got it. I went to fight for a change in the system. We did not quite get it, but a few things were happening until they wrote the constitution. Well, after they wrote the constitution, they changed back a lot of what we had agreed at that position. So I came into politics. I said, since I couldn't get it from outside politics, let me see if I can get it within politics. That's how I came in, and that's why maybe by God's grace, I was able to achieve some of the things that I achieved. And I see Umoino coming in from the private sector, bringing the same sort of thinking, the same sort of zeal, and the same sort of abilities as that God gave me the grace to bring into governance when I came. So I think it's a tremendous advantage.
You wouldn't think that times have changed from your time and now?
A professional, a thorough professional is a thorough professional before now, and in the future. And I don't think time will change that very much.
Okay. The current governor, Udomimano, is towing the path of industrial revolution. Do you see Pastor Moino going with that line as well?
I think earlier in this discussion, I mentioned the continuity aspect which Lagos State has enjoyed. I also mentioned the fact that what we see in Omoino is the willingness to accept the past and build on it. So I see no reason why he would not. Those viable things that Udom, Emmanuel, and that I want to believe you and add on to them.
You want to advise him to do that.
Not only will I advise him, look, if somebody is willing to listen, as I emphasize, and ask questions, yes. Let me remind you of an incident. Christmas 2012, I think it was, I can't remember. Yes, I think it was Christmas, just before I left office. My successor in office had already been elected. So we had a Thanksgiving service for him at the Pro Cathedral, Catholic Pro Cathedral. And it was presided over by Bishop, as he was then, Bishop Ekuwem. And Bishop Ekuwem said he does not like politicians speaking in his church, but he will just give Obong, Attah, and Obong Akwa an opportunity to say a few words to the people of Akwa Ibom because one is handing over to the other. I made only one sentence. I said, I would like my successor to know that I'm out of office, but not out of ideas. Anytime he would call on me, I'll provide him with the benefit of my ideas. And I sat down. So I see Omoino being in a position to recognize that fact and being willing to call on me and others to provide him with those ideas. But it is his responsibility to accept or reject and to execute.
Your Excellency, apart from you say you see humility in him, the ability to continue in the footsteps of Governor Udom Emmanuel.
I don't say that. With the past.
With the past. I would like to ask, because as the father of modern Akwa Ibom and the political leader of Ibido land and the state.
Now you know. Carry on, sorry to interrupt you.
So, has he presented his detailed blueprint for the development of Akwa Ibom State to you? And what are details of those blueprints?
He is the candidate. He's the one to tell you the details of his blueprint. But I don't think I'm letting any secrets out by saying that, yes, he has prepared a document, and one of the first things he did was to bring it to me and said, please. And I put together a group to say, let's look at this thing and see whether we can modify, add, or subtract. He has the humility to do that. And we have looked at it, and we are still looking at it. So, but he doesn't want to give you the details. I'm not. For goodness sake, I will only say, I stand in the background and say, well done, well done, well done. But he's the one to tell you what those details are, not me.
Okay, Your Excellency. For you, what's the next level for Akwa Ibom State?
Okay, I'll ask another question. Which of you attended a lecture I gave at Westbridge Hotel, which was titled Setting Agenda for Akwa Ibom of the Future? Any of you? You see, you want to participate, you don't even go. So how do you know the future for the people are telling you what will be the future of Nigeria? What I will do is, I will send you a copy of that lecture. I had examined certain things, and I had decided that given our population and our land mass, we cannot pretend that we are going to be a large agricultural state because we are not going to have large plantations. Cities are running one into the other, we have a pressure on land and so on and so on. But there's still quite a bit we can do by rural agriculture and so on. So, our future lies in technology. So I started a science park, somebody came and stopped it. I started a university of technology, somebody came and stopped it. It's very sad. But I still believe that the future lies in technology. Because if you know the amount of money that India makes from job writing programs for companies and startups and so on, you'll be amazed. The other day, there was a young Nigerian that sold his IT idea. Was it $3 billion? They paid him for it. You know this. So that's what I was aiming for. We sent 72 young Akwa Ibom graduates to Canada to study IT so that they'll come and be the pioneer staff of that science park. None of them came back because the park disappears by own indiscretion, and they have been picked up everywhere, and they are making names for themselves. The future lies in tech. That's why I give you another quote. I've told you about Winston Churchill and not picking a quarrel with the past. I tell you another one. The future belongs to those who can see possibilities before they becomes a commonplace. The future belongs to those who can see possibilities before they become commonplace. I saw a lot of the future, even before it became commonplace, but my footsteps were not followed.
Okay, Your Excellency, before we call it a wrap, I would like to ask you, do you have, or maybe I should put it this way, what fatherly advice do you have for Akwa Ibom people, particularly the younger generation?
Simple. Don't think that you are smarter than your father. So, because we even have a saying at home that what the old man can see sitting down, you climb the palm tree, you can't see. Have respect for your elders. Listen to what they have to say, and don't think that you are smarter than everybody else.
Okay, Your Excellency, thank you so much. I don't know if you have a final word or there's something you would like to add.
Final word is that I'm happy that I come from Akwa Ibom. I'm happy that I'm still in the position to talk to you as I'm doing. And believe me, if we can build on the past, the future is limitless. Thank you very much for considering it worthy to come and talk to me.
Excellency, just before you, I know you said final word, yes. But we can't go without talking about the present administration. And let's just take it to the architect.
No. Okay. We have already talked about the present. We have already talked about the present administration. We have commended Umoino for agreeing that he's going to build on those footsteps.
It's okay. Well, it was the master plan someone sent, but it's okay.
Master plan?
Yes.
Or what?
We're just asking about
physical master plan.
As an architect and town planner who designed Akwa Ibom State, would you say that your master plan is being followed?
To a very large extent, and you can see the difference. So that, you see, when Babangida came here, after he created the, I will tell a little story. We fought, pleaded, then I gave up. Then one day I got a phone call. You don't want your state anymore? Sorry, you don't want your state anymore? I said, but sir, is it? Yes, it is. So I said, but sir, you have not said anything. We've been asking you, no state, so what do you want me to say? Then he announced the creation of Akwa Ibom State and the creation of Katsina State. You know what I did? Which of you knows the Bible? Which of you knows the Magnificat? Kai. The Magnificat is when Mary visited Elizabeth. My soul magnified God, that is the Magnificat. And for me, it is the greatest prayer. See, when you remember that Mary was just a village girl, not tutored in anything, and he went to Elizabeth. Is it possible for a virgin to conceive? Please, my auntie, tell me, this thing that is happening, can it be? And by the time the baby in Elizabeth's womb later, Mary put together the Magnificat. Go and look. If you don't have it, I can send it to you. Every single line of the Magnificat is taken from the Bible. So how could anybody have stood there and composed such a prayer, all of it from the Bible? My soul magnifies the Lord is in the Bible. Every single line of God is in the Bible. But she did that. For me, it is the greatest prayer of gratitude to God in the world. So, why am I telling this story? When Babangida now said, okay, I've given you a state, Akwa Ibom State, Katsina, I just copied the Magnificat and said, this is the greatest thank you I can send to you. So he came here and said he has seen the master plan that has been prepared for Akwa Ibom, or the city in particular. That if that master plan is followed, he is convinced that Uyo will be one of the best cities in all of West Africa. Let's not forget that. So the governor is doing a tremendous job of, yes, there's been some modifications here and there and so on, but he's following that plan. See how easy it is with these ring roads. So much is happening. By the time we put the connectors, believe me, traffic, you won't know that there's traffic in nothing called traffic hold up in Uyo. But a master plan should be reviewed every 10, maximum 12 years. How old is Akwa Ibom? So Akwa Ibom master plan is due for review.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency.
So please, if you let me go, my voice is cracking again. I thank you very much. Yes, sure.